Hi there, and welcome to Her Season of Strength, where women over 40 reclaim their bodies, their energy, and their voices without apologies. I'm Kim Duffy, registered dietitian, personal trainer, mom, and your biggest hype woman when it comes to aging like you mean it. This show isn't about chasing skinny or counting wrinkles. It's about building real strength, physical, emotional, and hormonal. Each week, I'll share straight-talking nutrition tips, sustainable fitness strategies, and conversations that help you feel powerful in your skin once again. Menopause isn't an ending, it's only the beginning. This is your season of strength. Hello, and welcome back to Her Season of Strength. I am so happy you're here for today's topic, which is a good one. It's a good one, and it's one that I hear so often from women who come to me for nutrition coaching, and that is cravings. And first of all, before I say anything else, I want to admit I'm addicted to sugar. I will be fully transparent with you. If there is ice cream in the house, I will eat it. If there are tortilla chips, another one of my weaknesses, I will eat them, and not just one serving and be done. I will eat large amounts all at once, and they will call to me until I finish them, or literally dump them out into the trash can. And I'm talking I have to open them up and dump them into the trash amongst the coffee grounds and the expired refrigerator condiments, old leftovers, and the other trash. Because if I just throw them in just the bag, there's going to be some point in my day when I'm going to pull them out and go, they're fine. I just need to have a few, right? That's addiction. And I know the foods that are my weaknesses, and I rarely buy them. Now, don't get me wrong. I'll be like, hey, I feel like some ice cream. I want to enjoy my ice cream, knowing full well that I'm going to buy it and I'm going to eat more than I need to, and I'm going to finish it off in a couple of days. And then I'm going to say, hey, I had my ice cream. That was delicious. I really enjoyed that. And then I'm going to move on, and I'm not going to buy it for a while, right? And then I also have to tell my husband, if he buys them, I ask him not to tell me he buys them and to hide them. I don't want to know they're there because they will call to me. With that being said, I also know under what circumstances I am most likely to give in to my cravings. When I'm hungry, or I haven't eaten enough during the day, or when I haven't had enough protein and fiber forward meals and snacks, I know that sets me up for failure. And I say this all the time to my coaching clients is, set yourself up for success. Because there's a lot of things that we do, and we're like, darn well that, you're not going to be able to say no to this. You don't need to be able to have a candy dish sitting on your table just to prove that you can say no to it. Because there will be some point in your day that you're going to be tired or stressed or sad or emotional or whatever, and you're going to see that candy sitting there and you're going to eat it. Right? There's no reason to test your willpower or your strength. And I can't tell you how often my clients will come, like if they're training with me, they'll come at the end of the day and say, I don't know what's wrong with me. I had candy today. Or every night when I get home, I don't know why, I just want to order takeout. Or I can't keep chips in the house. Or once I start, I can't stop. And the shame behind those statements is heavy. Women over 40 who have raised families, run businesses, cared for aging parents, sitting across from me whispering that they can't control themselves around Oreos. Let's just pause right there. You're not weak because you want the Oreo. You're human. And today I want to unpack why cravings happen, what's going on in your body and your brain, how food manufacturers intentionally design certain foods to override your fullness signals. Did you know that? And how you can reduce cravings without restriction, without obsession, without self-blame. So first of all, I want to talk a little bit about what cravings actually are. Hunger, it's physical. Cravings are specific. Hunger says, I need food. Cravings say, I need that exact salty, crunchy, sweet thing. There's two main systems that are involved, and one is blood sugar regulation, and the other one is dopamine reward circuitry. So when you eat low protein, low fiber, highly refined carbohydrate meals, your blood sugar rises quickly. It spikes. And that spike feels good. We have energy and our dopamine rises, right? We're feeling happiness. And then insulin is secreted by the pancreas to say, hey, bring that blood sugar down, right? And sometimes it can drop too far. And that dip can trigger our hunger hormone, which is called ghrelin. Now our brain says, we need quick energy. And what does quick energy look like? It looks like sugar and refined carbs and highly processed foods. Not because you're being dramatic, but because biologically, those are the fastest fuel sources. Now let's add in a little bit of hormonal perimenopause and menopause. And that declining estrogen can actually increase our insulin resistance, just meaning that we're not responding to that insulin that's being sent by our pancreas to tell us to lower the blood sugar. So our blood sugars are going to be swinging more dramatically. So the highs feel higher, the crashes feel lower, and the cravings can feel louder. And that's just physiology. That's not a personality flaw. So now let's bring in hyperpalatable food. And these are those foods that are engineered to be almost impossible to stop eating. I mean, they're literally having food scientists design products to hit what's called the bliss point. And that is that perfect combination of sugar and salt and fat and texture that just maximizes that pleasure and minimizes the fullness. Because these foods are intentionally formulated to override those signals that tell you you're full, otherwise known as satiety signals. Because the more you eat, the more they sell, right? This is their business. So hyperpalatable foods often contain refined carbohydrates, added sugars, industrial seed oils, high sodium or high salt, artificial flavor enhancers, and emulsifiers and texture modifiers. Some examples are going to be like potato chips, cheese crackers, packaged cookies, candy bars, ice cream with mix-ins, fast food, French fries, sweetened breakfast cereals, frozen pizzas, drive-through fast food burgers and milkshakes, snack cakes, those flavored yogurts that have a lot of sugar in them even. So, I mean, you might go, oh, yogurt's like a healthy food, right? Not all of them, right? They're not all created equally. And then a lot of those granola bars. Just because it says granola bar does not mean it's good for you, right? Sometimes some of those are as bad as a candy bar. So notice something. These foods all combine fat, sugar, and salt. And that combination does not exist naturally in whole foods, right? An apple has sugar but no fat. Nuts have fat but minimal sugar. Potatoes have carbs but not added fat and sugar together. But when you combine fat and sugar in high concentrations, it spikes our dopamine, that happy chemical in our brain. And our brain lights up in that same way that reward pathways involved in addictive behaviors. And here's the key. Highly processed foods, they digest really fast because they are carbs. And we know that carbs are digested quickly. But they are ultra processed. We're taking out every little lick of fiber in them so that they are digested quickly and they don't actually trigger those fullness signals. So you can eat 400 to 1,000 calories of chips and still not feel full. That's not a lack of willpower. That's just engineering of these products. So now, on the other hand, let's talk about what actually helps. Protein is one of the most powerful appetite regulators that we have. It increases those satiety hormones telling us we're full. It supports that leptin signaling that decreases our hunger and reduces the hunger hormone, ghrelin. Leptin is the hormone that tells us we're full, and ghrelin is the one that tells us we're hungry. So when we undereat protein, that leptin is going to signal, the leptin signaling weakens and the ghrelin rises. So when we don't get enough protein, we're going to notice that we're feeling more hungry and less full. Fiber also slows our digestion. It stabilizes blood sugar and increases those fullness signals. So if you're eating, say, 10 grams of protein at breakfast, a light salad at lunch, snacking on refined carbs, your body is not supported. And then 8 p.m. hits and your brain is biologically primed for quick fuel, need something fast. But if we try this instead, we get 25 to 35 grams of protein per meal. If we try to get at least 25 grams of fiber per day, right? We're going to get fiber in our beans and our less processed carbohydrates. We're going to get it in our vegetables and our fruits. If we eat every 3 to 4 hours, and if we pair our carbohydrates, we don't eat them by themselves, but we pair them with protein, fiber, and fat. This is not just about being good or eating healthy. It's about stabilizing your physiology. Actually learning how to fuel your body in a way that you're not going to feel out of control. So when it comes to timing and under eating, I see this pattern frequently. People have coffee for breakfast. They don't want to break their fast. They have a salad for lunch, maybe a protein bar. And then night is absolute chaos. And they don't understand. Like, why? I don't understand. I ate quote unquote healthy all day. And then for some reason, I'm just out of control at night. So when we're under fueling our body earlier in the day, our body compensates later. It's making up for it, right? The cortisol from stress increases our cravings for those high sugar, high fat foods. And we know in menopause that we can have increased cortisol levels. We add some extra stress onto that, they're going to be higher. Then we add in a little bit of sprinkling of sleep deprivation because of those hormonal changes. We don't sleep as well. And we are going to see an increase in our hunger hormone and a decrease in our fullness hormone. That's why our cravings often feel worse now here in midlife. It's not just our hormones, it's kind of that whole ball of wax. It's our hormones with our hormonal changes, it's stress, it's sleep, it's blood sugar, it's our environment. And we cannot discipline ourselves out of that combination. We have to support it. So now let's take a little shift from biology to behavior. So if every night you sit in the same chair, you watch the same show, and you eat the same snack, your brain wires that loop. There's a cue, there's a routine, and then there's a reward. So your brain starts releasing, it's kind of like Pavlov's dog, right? Your brain starts releasing dopamine before the food even enters your mouth. That's why cravings can feel automatic, because you walk into the kitchen and your brain says, this is what we do here. That's a habit. That's not hunger. Next, let's talk a little bit about urge surfing. And this is where we can add in a little bit of mindfulness around cravings, because that can really change everything. So instead of reacting immediately, just pause. Take just even a tiny little pause. Notice that urge for whatever it is that you have that craving for, because we can see an urge kind of rise like a wave. It peaks and then it can fall. So most cravings last 10 to 20 minutes. Urge surfing means that you're just observing it, but you're not judging yourself. Think about it. I notice, I want some ice cream right now. Rather than, oh my gosh, I have no self-control. I'm the worst. I want ice cream. So we breathe. We get distracted. We do something else. We delay that by 10 minutes. Maybe we have a glass of water. Maybe we step outside, go for a little walk, get a little sunshine. Sometimes you will come back from that 10 minutes and you will still choose that ice cream, and that's okay. But now it's intentional, right? You're building self-trust. Next, let's talk a little bit about breaking the cycle. So we can change up that loop. Maybe we sit somewhere different than we normally do. Maybe instead of sitting down and watching television, we go for a walk after dinner. We're changing up our routine. Maybe we brush our teeth a little bit earlier. Maybe instead of, always having a snack, maybe we instead put a cup of tea in our hand and we sip from that. So we feel like we're getting a little bit of that same kind of hand to mouth is what I like to call it. But we're not necessarily, eating the treat. Maybe you call your mom or your friend or family. Maybe you go to bed a little bit earlier. And again, eat enough earlier on. Hydrate yourself well. Decrease exposure to those hyperpalatable foods if you notice that they trigger you. Not in a restrictive way, but just being an aware way. You don't have to keep a gallon tub of ice cream in the freezer to prove that you're stronger, you that have willpower. Your environment matters. So now if we kind of zoom out, those cravings are not just proof that you are broken or you have poor willpower. They're information. They might tell us, they might be signaling something to you that maybe your blood sugar is unstable or it's low. Maybe you haven't had enough protein during the day. Maybe you haven't had enough fiber during the day. Maybe you're just chronically under eating and your body is trying to, help you by sending you more hunger signals, telling you you're hungry and that you need to eat. Maybe you're under a lot of stress or you're not getting enough sleep. Maybe, you're just constantly consuming those hyperpalatable foods and seriously, they're messing with you. Maybe you have some emotional needs that you're trying to kind of calm, give them something, feed them, right? But when you eat foods that help to balance that blood sugar, support that blood sugar, when we increase our protein, when we increase our fiber, we're eating consistently. So we're not going for long periods without eating. We're not just eating one single meal per day or, eating breakfast and then not eating for 12 hours until dinner. We're eating regular, balanced meals. We're managing our stress. We're being cognizant of how much sleep we're getting and the quality of our sleep. We're trying to practice mindfulness and just being aware and listening to our body. And we're changing up routines. We're going to notice when we do these things that our cravings decrease. Not because you forced them down, but just because you supported your body better. And maybe the most important thing I want you to hear today is that the modern food environment is designed to make you overeat. Your biology is not defective. It's just responsive. So when you understand that, instead of fighting against it, we can see a shift. So here is what I want you to reflect on. What craving have you been shaming yourself for that might actually just be feedback? Maybe it's, your 3 p.m. candy bar that you always just need to have. Or is it your 8 p.m. ice cream or bowl of popcorn or whatever? Let's be more curious rather than jumping to criticizing ourselves, because that's strength. And if you want to see what a balanced week of meals and snacks looks like, to see how it kind of helps with your cravings, a little experiment here, I have a free 7-day high-protein meal plan you can grab. It has 8 new recipes, including grocery lists, and a plan for which meals and snacks to eat when, and it is done for you. I'll put the link in the show notes if you want to snag it. And if this episode resonated with you, I would love it if you would leave me a rating or review or just a like. Share it with a friend who thinks, that she is always thinking that she lacks willpower. And message me on Instagram. Tell me what your biggest craving is at Strength and Nutrition LLC. And remember, this is all about progress over perfection. We're in this for the long haul, and this is your season of strength. Have an amazing day.